back for another episode of Season Three's TBI Uncovered, the platform that allows traumatic brain survivors, those with brain injuries, brain conditions, shock survivors, gunshot survivors, AVM survivors, survivors of various brain conditions, survivors alike, the wheelchair and disability community, caregivers, medical professionals, organizations, and anyone such with brain injuries to share the stories and provide tips, plus resources, and bring awareness to those impacted. Oh my God, it's a mouthful. So on today's episode, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You guys don't understand. I'm so excited. This episode today for me is like none other. All my episodes are great, but this one is very near dear to me. So my guest today started in a profession that's very near and dear to my heart. She's a licensed and certified SLP. That's right. She's a speech language pathologist, or what I like to call SLPpreneur, with digital products and resources galore, which we'll dive into a little later. So help me welcome another medical professional changing the world, Dana Bryan. Hello, Dana.
Hey, what an amazing intro. I never heard you call it as a SLpreneur.
Yeah, it's so cool. I got it from I interviewed a young lady who was an occupational therapist, and she called herself OTpreneur. So I'm like, okay,
Okay,
SLPpreneur. So I'm
it
gonna throw my
works.
it does work.
It
So
works. It works.
it definitely does. Well, welcome to season three, my cover. Thank you again for agreeing to this interview. I'm so excited. Like I said, it's near this my heart. I love what you do. I'm very passionate about it. I love it, love it. And so I am just so honored to have you on, as a guest on my show today. So
Yeah, I'm
how's your day?
honored to be
I'm
here.
sorry,
Thank you.
Thank you. How's your day been so far? I'm sure busy.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, I did work today, but I'm off. I'm ready for the weekend. So this is kind of kicking off my weekend.
Yay. So we're going to get started and just begin to introduce yourself for those who don't know you and share how your speech therapy journey began.
Yeah, so my name is Dana M. Bryan, as you can see, and I've been a speech pathologist for about 10 years. I finished grad school in 2013, and my specialty area is neuro, so neuro rehabilitation. So I help individuals who have had brain injuries, strokes, any type of neurological disorders, neurodegenerative disorders. I'm your girl when it comes to speech therapy. And yeah, I've always been interested in the brain ever since I was a little girl. I had a grandmother who unfortunately was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor, and she passed away. And that's what got me really excited about learning about the brain. And the older I got, I just knew I would be in the helping profession. I just didn't know in what area. And this seemed like the perfect fit because I can communicate, I can help people, I can learn about all the new updated stuff of neuroscience. So it's like a perfect fit for me.
Yes, it definitely is. I just like I said, I love it. I love that you're so passionate about it. And I guess you kind of answered the question already. I have a little later on how you inspired you to do it. And so for those who don't know what speech therapy entails, get to let them know what it all entails, like all the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know the term speech therapy seems very specific. It really is. And sometimes I feel like we should change our title because we're so much more than just speech
Yeah.
now. But we help people with speech, language, cognition, and swallowing. So
Okay.
those are our big areas. Speech and language, of course, can be grouped in just said communication. So you got communication, you have also the swallowing part, and then also the cognition part. So those are our three main lanes, I like to call them.
I never heard it broken down that way, but I guess thinking back on my journey, I can relate to what you're saying. It is branched off in different parts. So I'm thinking back on now, like when my journey began. So wow, I didn't know it was like that much in depth. So thank you for putting it like that.
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
When you were in college, so were there other people of color in your classes, or were you like the minority in the speech therapy space in those classes?
So the field of speech language pathology is 93% white.
Okay.
Um, So it's not a lot of people of color in the field already to start with. So that's going to be represented in the graduate programs as well. So I was the only person of color in my cohort. I feel like that's typical at a predominantly white institution. But of course, you got HBCUs like Howard and Hampton and places like that. That's in the area where I live now, and they're HBCUs, so they are going to be predominantly Black programs. But I was the only one in my program.
And how was that for you? Was it kind of like awkward? Was it kind of like you felt comfortable?
I would say I was used to it because I went to a PWI, a predominantly white institution for undergraduate.
Okay.
So I was kind of used to being the only one at that point. But I will say it can get awkward
Mm-hmm.
when you're studying certain classes or certain topics and you feel like um, you are you have to speak up or be the spokesperson for your race. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, if we were studying language, um, and they started teaching about African American vernacular English, formerly known as Ebonics. It's like, okay, this is awkward. Clearly, I'm the only Black person in here. Or if they started talking about uh, different low SES status, disenfranchised, groups, things like that, then you're like, okay, this is kind of awkward. But, I welcome the opportunity to spread more awareness to other people so they can know this is a career. Like you can help people, you can make money, you can have fun, you can make a difference. And you don't have to just fall into those traditional, healthcare umbrellas like nursing, or doctors or another kind of therapist. Like there's other things for you if you're still interested in healthcare.
Yes, it is, and it's really interesting that you said that because I know when I was in and this is kind of a little different. But I remember when I was at rehabilitation, I went to a facility that was like 200 miles away from my family, and it was predominantly white people, and I was only African American, only female first of all, only female on the floor, only black woman on the floor, and
Mhm.
so. And I'm like, and I guess I was kind of used to it by then too, because at that time I had been to maybe that's like my third place I had been to already. So it's kind of like semi used to it. Now what's awkward, feeling like I'm on the black woman, on the black girl, like, okay. And
Mhm.
so it was very kind of awkward at first, like, but then I felt like, okay, I could pay the way even and pay the way for somebody else in a sense. And I say the same
Mhm.
thing to you. You're paving the way for other people of color who want to do it. So they see your face and like, oh, I can do it too. So I
Yeah,
love
absolutely. Now let me ask you, did you have therapists of color?
no.
Never
And
in your journey?
I never no.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
So
But
never
it's
met a
but
black.
no. But it's an honor to even get to talk to someone of color that's, they kind of like me. So it's kind of like, it's refreshing. Now, I love the therapists I had. They're wonderful therapists. So, they're wonderful therapists. And they helped me a whole lot. I'm so thankful for them. But at the same time, you do want to see somebody that looks like you. So,
Mhm.
one of those things.
Yeah, I actually wrote a blog post a couple months ago why we need more Black
Mhm.
allied health therapists, and it's not to say that white SLPs are not fantastic. They
Some
are. There's
people are.
phenomenal
Oh,
out there, but
oh,
I
yeah.
do think that it means something to have options. Number one, and then number two, to have people that you feel like can relate to you on certain issues or topics,
Mhm.
whether it be hair, care, whether it be music or just things that they may be more familiar with than people who
Mhm.
are not in your demographic. And so I think that ties in really nicely to some of the things we'll talk about in a second, which is bringing in things that matter to the patient. And if you
Yes.
don't know what matters to the patient or you're unfamiliar, then it may take you longer to create a functional and person-centered activity.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're rocking through. We're going down to like real soon, like you said. So, and that's very vital, which is very important and very important what you said. I agree to wholeheartedly. And so, what inspired you to do speech therapy in a different, not traditional way?
Yeah, so for a few years, I was getting burnt out with being an SLP. I was, it just, I felt like I wasn't challenged. I felt
Mhm.
like there was a creative side to me that I wasn't being able to let shine. And I just knew in my gut like there was something better. And I did some research, and there was like we have traditionally been under the medical model. The medical model, a lot of healthcare professionals are under it, which basically says we know what's best for you. You know, like this is the formula, so you just do it this way and you'll get better, right? Well, now we're under a more person-centered care model, and that says, you know what? I'm not your teacher. I'm your teammate, right? We're going to work together on things that you want to get better on, which you say matters, you know. And so thank God I kind of, you know, was able to be exposed to this, because then when I started creating more functional and person-centered therapy activities, I started seeing my career again, and I felt like my
Mhm.
patients were actually getting better and enjoying SLP services more when I brought more functional person-centered activities to the table.
So you can see their energy rising, their excitement for it being more, I guess, lively. I guess.
Yeah,
And
because
what's the difference?
I mean, because I don't know about your rehab settings that you were in, but I know in a lot of places I work, people didn't like to see speech therapy come in. Like they were excited to do PT, you know, get up and move around, exercise. They were
Yeah.
pumped about OT, but then it was like, like each there, like I don't really want to. Like, do I have to? And I would always be
Mhm.
like, why don't SLPs get the same energy, respect, you
Mhm.
know, as our colleagues, PT and OT. And when I really took a step back and looked, I was like, I wouldn't want to come with me either. You know, like I don't want to do worksheets. I don't want to do board games and play cards and do things that feel like puzzles and kiddie stuff. Like I'm trying to get back to being
Mhm.
myself, or some
Yeah.
semblance of myself, and what are you going to do to help me get there?
Yeah.
And so when I started looking at it like that, like I said, my whole therapy style changed.
See, I was a nerd, so I love puzzles. I love all the words. I love words. I do. So I was a nerd. So I didn't mind going to speech therapy. And actually, my speech therapist, she was so cool. Talking about top model and things like that. So it was fun. But by the time I saw her, I was already I had just started talking, and it's so weird, Dana. So I'm gonna tell you real quick. I'm not sure if you know much about my story, but I was shot in my head by straight bullet, and and so I wasn't. It impacted different parts of my. It damaged different parts of my brain, and so the bullet hit my brain and shattered to the pieces. And so my vocal box was damaged, so I couldn't talk for 4 months. And so I was in a coma for a month and a half and all these different things. And so when I first got to um, my first rehab hospital. I was in the hospital first, in my rehab hospital. I was not talking, and so she had me like doing different things like humming and stuff like that, and it didn't make sense to me at the time. It's like, okay. And so my family named the ABC, like a piece of paper with ABCs on it. So it's not communicated, and I would point to the letters and spell it out, and I point to the paper, and then they not want to say something or whatever or spell something out, and that's how I communicated. And so I can't even remember what she even thought when I came into her office talking, like, because even when I came in talking, it wasn't like I'm talking now, but it was kind of like very like one word, like hi, what,
Mm-hmm.
no, yeah, it's very slow. And so I wish I could remember what she said. I really do, because I can imagine. Can you imagine like when your client not talking, and it's like when she talking, it's like, well, what changed? What? And my voice, it just came back like that. Like I was humming the song.
Yeah.
With me and my mom watching One Sister Park, and I was humming the song that I heard going to the club one night with a couple of friends, and I was humming. Humming or whatever, by my head like that or whatever. Someone looked at me, she was like, Erica, you talking? I'm like, and she said, say something. I'm like, she just said, hi, mom. I'm like, hi, mom. And she, so it came
Mhm.
out like, it was just like that. And so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how I started. So, has it ever happened to you, a person that was nonverbal, and then, I never can see the wrong questions, but has it ever happened to you before you had a client that wasn't talking in person and all of a sudden they talk?
Yes. Especially when I work more in acute care, right?
Okay.
Because I think, well, people who may not be as familiar with the kind of trajectory, you have
Mm-hmm.
SLP at different phases of your recovery. So you might have
Mm-hmm.
somebody you see in the hospital, acute care. You might have somebody inpatient rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go to skilled nursing facilities, and then you have people who SLPs who might be in home health or outpatient
Okay.
rehab, or some that
Oh,
even do teletherapy now,
I didn't know
right?
all this.
Yeah, and so I saw that a lot more when I worked in acute care because people would be coming off of their off their ventilators, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you do see it a little bit in outpatient settings, but just not as much.
Okay. Wow. So, instead you had a person experience somebody that couldn't talk.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different reasons why somebody might not be talking. It could be
Mm-hmm.
language, loss of language, or change in language. It could be loss of speech. And so that's
Okay.
one thing that I try to explain the difference.
Okay. You can take a sip of water if you need a sip of water. I can see you kind of like.
I had a sip of water. Hold on just a second. I'm going to go get my water.
You're fine. You're fine. Oh, goodness. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you. Hi, everybody that's watching.
You saw me struggling. It's allergies.
I know the season. Seasons change. The weather's just, dude, one day it's hot, it's cold, so I understand. I get it.
But I was saying that some people have different reasons why they're not talking.
Mhm.
And it might be speech,
Okay.
it might be language. So, like if someone's having trouble with their voice, that's more of a speech issue,
Okay.
right? But if someone can't find the word, right, or phrase or sentence or something like that, that's more language. So, it is possible for people to have speech disorders and language disorders, but it is possible for them to have either or.
Okay. I never heard about the noun like that. That makes perfect sense. If you don't have to talk the speech, you can't think in a kind of way. Language. Okay. I love it. Got it.
But yeah, sometimes people will we can help people create what we call AAC, so alternative and augmentative communication support. So AAC. So
Okay.
when you say like a letter board or like a button or eye gaze or an iPad or something like that, it's called AAC, augmentative
Okay.
and alternative communication. And sometimes people just need them for a little bit until they,
Mhm.
get more recovery, and then they don't need it anymore. And some people might need support for a long period of time, might be a
Mhm.
long term user. And so it just really depends on the severity, of what they have going on, and just a whole bunch of other things.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. Thank you for explaining that. So, what do you find
Yeah.
most rewarding about helping those who you serve in the military who have had brain injuries or strokes?
Yeah, so I would say the progress. Like I love the outpatient setting
Mhm.
because people are sometimes returning to work,
Mhm.
returning to school. They kind of, are like, I want to get back to this. I want to try to maybe have a little role in this, maybe church, community, trying to date again. Like they're really trying to put the pieces back together so that they can improve their quality of life. Because up until that point, it might be survival, right? Like when they're in acute care or inpatient rehab. And I really like spending time with them in the outpatient setting and really thinking about what's your goals, what's important to you, what's valuable to you, who's in your circle, and then they'll make it like really life changing progress.
Mm. So I never see. I guess when your brain is affected, you don't think in depth like that. Like you don't think like, so what? Why do I want to do? You don't think about the whys. It's always what are you going to do. But when you think about the whys, kind of like, well, I don't know. I gotta think about that. So when I guess when your brain is affected, I guess you don't think about the why first. You think about what you're actually doing first. So I think my
Mm-hmm.
brain first. So it's actually
Yeah,
said.
yeah. Well, sometimes
So
I think that's why we make a great team
mhm,
because the patient and the SLP, they're working together, and the SLP is constantly saying, okay, how can this translate to their daily life, or
mhm,
how can this improve their quality of life? And to you, we might just be doing a task,
mhm,
but
yeah.
like, oh, we're just shopping online, or we're just reading a book or talking about top model. But I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
that SLP had goals, right? And
Yes.
skills in her head, like, oh, I want to increase her, her word frequency. I want to work on her sentence structure. I want to see, can she maintain the topic, for
Mhm.
X number of minutes. Like, we're
That's me.
constantly thinking
I thought
about.
she was going. Francis, I thought she was just that's me. Are we thinking that?
You never know what we're
Hmm.
doing. Sneaky,
Hmm.
sneaky.
You done told the secret now. Okay. So that's the good one. Okay. Oh, there's always something. I never heard of before. You told me something.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you ever know what your goals were in your therapies?
Ooh. Initially, no.
Okay.
Not initially, no. I mean, I just knew that I would get back to my normal life, whatever normal would, whatever it looked like. I just wanted to get back to whatever regular life was. I didn't have
Mhm.
any ambition. I didn't like I said I had ambition, but I didn't think far enough. Like my brain wasn't thinking about you just yet.
Mhm.
But I had just literally, that was in '08. So I just literally, no, that was no '08. It was '09, I think. So I was still getting wrapping my head around some things. So that wasn't even nowhere near in my thought process at the time. So,
Yeah. And so in the past, 15, 20 years, like as we keep progressing, like I said, we're moving more towards a person-centered
yeah.
model where it's not just about, hey, do this and then, I'll be back to check on you in a minute or anything like that. It's
Mhm.
more about, no, we're gonna sit and talk about what you value. Do you see yourself ever working again? If so, where would you like to work? What skills do we need to work on so that you can work again? Like, that's the kind of stuff that we have to really sit down and talk to the patient about, right? So we can make sure that what we're doing is meaningful, right?
So, so is that what functional person-centered therapy is? That's what it all entails. So is that what it mainly is? Just get more one-on-one personal time, I guess, against another patient and find out what they like. If you like something, you pay more attention to it. You wanna focus on it more. So is that what that kind of is?
Yeah, so functional means it matters, right?
Okay,
Like it's important. And person centered means it matters to you,
that person. Okay,
right?
that person.
So let's take a task like it's a really popular task, medication management, right? For an
Okay,
example, some SLPs might work with patients on like medication management, reading labels, or sorting their meds for the week, something like that. Sometimes occupational therapists will do this too,
mm-hmm.
but this is a very functional task. I mean, taking meds, you need to be able to take your
Yeah.
meds right. You need to be able to know about your meds. But let's say it's somebody who is not responsible for their medications. Let's say that they never even see the medication. They never even, like, they don't want to see it. Somebody else is responsible for bringing them their medicine every day. Then that's
Mm-hmm.
not really a person centered task anymore, because why are we spending time in a session doing that when in real life they're never going to use this skill? They don't
Right.
need to know how to do this. Now, if it's something they're like, no, I want to get back to doing this, it's important for my independence to get back to doing this, then yes, now this is a functional and person-centered task.
Okay, I can dig it. I mean, perfect sense. Perfect sense. I love it. So, what's one functional therapy tip that you found useful that you use for, I guess, majority of your clients, or I don't know, what's popular for most of your clients that you use?
So, because of the set I work in, I work with a lot of higher functioning people. Like my patients are normally working or like
Okay.
near retirement, or maybe they're working in their light duty, or they have like certain working part time or something like that. And I ask people to bring stuff from home or work. I'll
Hmm.
say, what are some tasks that you have to be able to do at work? What are some things that you got to be able to do at home? And they'll describe it to me, and I'll say, oh, okay, I want you to bring XYZ in then from work. Or like if somebody's taking a college class or something, they're like, yeah, I have to sit and look at these lectures and do this module and da da da. I'll say, oh, okay, well, bring in your laptop next time,
Okay.
because I what we're working on is skills. Like we're working
Okay.
on skills. And because we're working on skills, it really doesn't matter the activity as long as it's a functional activity, a person-centered activity. So if I need you to be able to read better, right? I'm not gonna just give you a worksheet